You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Hello, mamas, and welcome back to another episode of the Mama Work It podcast. I'm so glad you're here. If you are new in these parts, Mama Work It is where we support women in the juggle of mom life, work life, wife life, fill in the blank life. And I'm your host, Marissa Lonick. So today we have a very special guest. Her name is Jaime Villalovos. Jaime is a resilient mompreneur whose journey began from humble beginnings in a small Montana town. She then became a Deca millionaire and now showcases the embodiment of grit and success. At the age of 22, Jaime took charge of her destiny, launching her own business that propelled her to seven-figure earnings before even turning 30. Today, she stands among the leading females in the financial industry. Beyond her personal achievements, Jaime's passion lies in empowering others. She's played a pivotal role in guiding thousands of women to kickstart their businesses, coaching many to achieve remarkable success, boasting multiple 6- and 7-figure incomes. Known as the Balance Queen, Jaime is dedicated to not only helping people achieve their biggest goals, but also nurturing female leaders to live a fulfilling life. Fueling her commitment to helping others achieve the life they desire, Jaime founded the Happy and Strong movement. Through this initiative, she shares her expertise, coaching others on how to craft their dream lives while striking a balance between business success, family, wellness, and fulfillment. The culmination of her wisdom and experiences is found in her best-selling book, Happy and Strong. Amidst her remarkable journey, Jaime has an inspiring marriage and 4 children between 8 and 18. Family and faith are foundational to her, with Jaime actively contributing to her community, church, and multiple charitable causes that she is passionate about. Her rags to riches story is not just about financial triumph. It is a testament to resilience, leadership, and a commitment to a life of serving and lifting others. This is going to be such an incredible episode, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And Jaime, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited. I love your show.
Great. All right. So I would love to just get started and hearing a little bit more detail about that journey, that journey from that small town in Montana to becoming this 7-figure entrepreneur all in your 20s, which is pretty incredible. Can you share that with us?
Yeah. Well, I grew up it was a very tiny town, about 225 people is the population now. So very tiny.
Wow.
We grew up on, welfare, WIC, those things. And I was the oldest of 6 kids. There's a big gap between me and the middle kids, and then another big gap between them and the babies. And I always kind of had a lot of responsibility in the house. And I just noticed growing up that there just wasn't really opportunities for women. And I wanted to have a better life for my kids. I wanted to be able to also help my family, my younger siblings, my parents. And so I moved out to California with the idea of paying my way through college, being able to send money back home to my family. But as I was working in different jobs and different careers, I just felt like I was working so hard in corporate America and different jobs. And I wanted to be able to have something that I could have the lifestyle I wanted, be able to make the contributions I wanted, but also have control of my time so that I could put my family first. Being a mom was really important to me. And I saw all of my supervisors, people that had been there 10 years longer than me, that still couldn't control their time, couldn't be able to go to their kids' games and recitals when they wanted to. And so I knew I wanted to have my own business, but I was 22, I couldn't finish college because I was working so many hours in my job in management in corporate America. And so I didn't really know what my options were. I had this vision of being able to have something that I was making a difference, making an impact, helping others, but again, having that total freedom of time and being able to be a mom. And so I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I actually was lucky one day when I was at the gym, and a lady had come into the gym who had never worked out before. She had just had her second child, and we were talking, and I was showing her around and helping her with different machines and stuff at the gym. And she's like, "Oh, you're so nice. You're so good with people. Have you ever thought of having your own business?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I've been trying to learn this and trying to do that and trying to do a little side thing." And she's like, "Well, come and meet my husband." And I came in and to the financial industry actually back, so long ago. And I thought, wow, this sounds something I could do, where I could make good income, but always be helping others. But again, get to a point where I could have a business. And so that was kind of my first start in business. And luckily I had good mentors.
Gotcha. Yeah. So at that time, you were in your early 20s. Were you already a mom?
No, I wasn't. My responsibility was for those kids in Montana. They were still very young.
Mm-hmm.
I was 22. I was working like 11 hours a day, typically at my job.
Wow.
And I honestly, my mindset was like, I can't even meet a guy. I have no life, let alone, think about when I have children of my own. And for some reason, that was just such a big, vision in my mind of the lifestyle that I wanted. I wanted to have a better life than I had growing up. Again, growing up in a little trailer on the edge of town. Sometimes I don't know if anybody's had been to northeastern Montana in the winter. It's like Alaska. The Alaska winds cut right through there. And I remember one time in Montana waking up in the winter before school in high school and seeing my breath. It was so cold. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, are we that poor that we don't have money for propane? You know what I mean? I had this fear that we weren't okay. You know what I mean? And I remember getting my sisters up and bringing them to the bathroom and singing songs with them and doing their hair and just trying to make them feel safe and okay. And I just had this overwhelming feeling because I would hear my parents arguing about money at the kitchen table. That I never wanted to have that in my home. When I had kids, I wanted peace. I wanted happiness. I wanted security. I wanted, a different spirit in my home. And I didn't want my kids to kind of grow up like that. So I wanted to have a better, I guess, financial stability. But again, I also wanted to be able to be there at those games and be able to travel with them. And so I knew that, first of all, I needed to have more opportunity, but then I also needed to have my own business. And I know that there's a lot of moms that they love being a stay-at-home mom and they love being at home with their family. And I wanted the same thing. But then there's some moms that really need to make money outside of the home. They need to contribute to the bills. And then there's others that just really have passions, maybe contribution goals, or other things that they want to do outside the home. And I wanted to kind of have both.
Yeah, makes sense. So you built this foundation with the big picture vision that you knew you were going to be a mom one day. You'd sort of taken on that maternal role for your younger siblings and really just wanted to shift that in your own nuclear family onward. Yeah. So you've got 4 kids. Mm-hmm. You're a successful entrepreneur running a 7-figure business. How do you make sure, because you said you're the balance queen, right? So how do you make sure your kids, your partner, they know that they're the most important thing in your life? Like, even though I imagine you're probably busy also working on business and work goals.
Yeah, I have multiple businesses. In the beginning, like you asked, I didn't have kids. So I thought, gosh, I better pour myself into this thing in the beginning and learn all this stuff. But, then it comes where you feel like it's time to start, having a family. And I see so many women that are like, well, I'll wait until I'm financially set, or I'll wait until I get to a certain level or whatever. And I never wanted to do that. If that's between you, your partner, and God or whatever. And I felt it was time to start a family. So when I got married, I had to make adjustments first to how I was running my life, of course, but also my business. But then when I had my first child, my daughter, obviously it's a big adjustment. And at first I just kind of like, bring her with me. and I had a pack and play in my office, and I would breastfeed and then, make some phone calls. But then I think when she was about 18 months old, I started having the feelings, the mommy guilt, the questions, the distraction in my mind of like, am I doing the right things? Am I spending too much time away from my business was one question. Am I
Mm-hmm.
doing this right? And then also, am I spending enough time with my daughter? Am I a good mom? All these questions that women go through. She was about 18 months old, and that was the first time I ever really was distracted with not having clarity with what's next or what do I need to be doing. And so I kind of was seeking out different mentors on this, people that did have successful, families and business, and they had peace of mind and happiness in their homes, and had already done it. And so I had to make adjustments and just kind of put tweaks in there so that instead of the distraction or the questioning or those feelings of anxiety or whatever, it was replaced again by peace. Like, yes, I am doing the right things. So I had to change my schedule. Then I had my second child. Second child was kind of like, just throw another log on the fire. It was just, you know what I mean? It wasn't that big of a change. But wow, was number 3 a change? Like, you have 4, right? 3 is
Yes.
the hardest, I think. 3 was like, I'm totally outnumbered here. And I really had to make adjustments in my business. By the time I had number 4, I was kind of already had figured it out. It was actually, I felt 4 was easier than 3. But to answer your question, as far as how do I make sure that they are feeling that they are the most important, I coach a lot of people, especially women in business, on this one subject, where if you're going to win in business, you want to be successful, you want to, I don't know, whatever your goal may be. And maybe it's 7 figures, maybe it's just hitting certain goals that you can bring income into the home. But if you want to win in business and you have a family, you have a spouse, you have kids, they should be your reasons why you win, not your excuses that constantly pull from the success or make you fail, right? So, I have when I got married, what we did was, so many people say, well, I need my spouse to be on board. I need my spouse to be to supportive. I don't think that you really need your spouse to be involved in your business. I'm motivated enough for both. Luckily, my spouse is very supportive, but we always have been on the same page. So you get your spouse, let's say your business is selling girly stuff on Etsy, right? Like, cute stuff on Etsy. I don't think your male spouse is going to be like, yeah, let's, I'm so involved in this. But what he would be involved in is where that business is going to take your family in the future. So you get your spouse involved by saying, what's our dream life? What's our common vision? Where are we going? What do we want for our goals for our parents? What do we want for our goals for our children, for our grandchildren, and the life that we want to live? And that could be in your spiritual life, in your family life. It could be short-term, long-term, dreams, big dreams, small goals, paying off the debt, savings, retirement by a certain age, whatever it is. So you have this common vision that you're both excited about, and you're a team moving towards it. Okay. So that's number 1. Then as you have a family, my family's always, we have our family vision, our family mottos, where we are a team moving towards, this dream life that we want as a family. So they are included, number 1. But number 2, I think this is really important. They are my whys. And so you can't go to your spouse and say, oh, I'm doing this for you. As much as you say it, oh, I'm working so hard for our family, for our kids to have a better life than we did. You're saying it, but if they don't feel it, it doesn't mean it. It doesn't mean the same thing. So what I do is I do make them a priority. Where you put your time is where your heart is. So I have my own calendar, my own planner, right? And you open up your planner and you put in, like Stephen Covey used to say, the big rocks. I don't know if you remember from the 70s, Stephen Covey was the best at time management. He said, you put your big rocks in first. What are the big rocks? Well, they're my little getaways, mini honeymoons with my husband. They are my big conventions that I have in my business, or some, the bigger events, or the retreats and stuff that I do for my business. But they're also the mommy dates, the date nights with my spouse. I put all the big stuff in first. So we do our weekly date nights. I do my mommy dates. I do our family time, church, and those types of things. All those are in. So if I put in my quarterly mini honeymoon or my weekly date nights, my family night once a week on Sunday nights as a family, all these wonderful things that are to grow first and foremost my marriage, second my strong foundation with my family that is we keep building upon. If those things are put in first, that means that they're my priority. My kids know, like, that during family time, I'm not going to be on my phone answering texts about business, that they're my priority. So I think so many times, especially as women, we have so many roles and so many responsibilities that it's very easy to go 3 months and we haven't had that one-on-one time with our daughter.
Mm-hmm.
3 months and we haven't had a date night with our spouse because it's always busy. It's always busy. So you plan that stuff in first, and then you can just fill in, in Stephen Covey's analogy again, once you put in the big rocks, you can put in all the pebbles, and all the sand kind of fills in all the nooks and crannies of your life with everything else that just needs to get done. And I used to, be like, I have to get things done. There's always that never ending to-do list and crossing things off. And, one time this friend of mine, this mentor, he's an older, kind of like my grandpa type friend, and he called me Jamie. He said, Jamie, he called me one time. He said, Jamie, you're a great mom. And I said, well, thank you. And he's like, you're not the best mom. And I'm like, okay. He's like, he's like, you're not going to be the number one best mom. And you're not perfect. Right. And he said, and you don't have to be perfect. And he said, you don't have to be perfect, but you are a great mom and you're the best mom for your kids. And right. And my daughter, we were getting ready one day, and she was pretty little. She was probably, I would probably say she's about 6 or 7. And she's like, you're the best mom. And she told me, it was right around that same time. And I'm like, all right, I'm hearing it from her. But I was this getting things done and trying to be perfect for everyone. And instead I shifted at that moment when she said that, and when he said that, it was kind of within a few days of each other, to, instead of trying to get things done and cross things off my to-do list and having this never ending, full schedule, to putting the priorities in of those big rocks, but then also making sure I'm creating memories versus just trying to get things done. And that's a chapter in my book, actually, just creating memories versus getting things done, creating this, the relationships, the bonds, the things that I want with the people that are my priorities. The business is going to enhance my marriage. The business is going to enhance my family life. It's going to fund my dreams for these guys. So, and then one last thing on that is I tell them, they know that they're number one. It's not, I don't assume that my husband knows that he's the number one thing in my life. And I tell him, and I tell my kids, I'm like, do you know who's my number one? Do you know who I love the most? And they'll say, me. I'm like, no, it's dad, actually. It's dad. But you're number 2, right? and so and I'm like, I love you more than anything. We've done family nights where my husband will say, what's the most important thing to mom and I? And my husband will say, do you think it's surfing for me? Because he's a surfer. He loves to surf. Do you think it's mom's phone? Do you think it's business? And they said, no, it's us. I'm like, how do you know it's you? And like, well, you constantly tell us, and we know by your actions. So we have these types of conversations. So I say, no matter how crazy business gets or what's going on, you're number one, and I will drop that at any time. But then we schedule in all those times to create memories or to create dialogue that might be important that we're missing.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I think it's so easy to get caught up in being quote unquote busy with just like the day-to-day operations of life.
Yeah.
That we can easily fall into that I don't have time for that excuse.
Yeah.
Of these more foundational things that we really should be prioritizing. So I agree with you. I think those need to kind of come first and foremost, and then everything else can squeeze in around it, because otherwise, no matter what season of life you're in, whether you're in a busy motherhood season or like, I don't know, any season really, you will always find a reason or an excuse to not let those things happen, whether that is because you think you're too busy, because you're afraid to get started in that, because
Yeah.
it's out of your comfort zone, whatever it is. But we'll totally procrastinate on that stuff and just fill our time with like garbage, honestly, with things that don't matter.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be stuff going on. And I think as women, it's hard for us to say no as well. It's hard to set
Mhm.
boundaries. There is such thing as too many good things, right? You have these great
Mhm.
opportunities and doors that might open in business, or they've asked you to, volunteer at the PTA thing. And of course you want to do all of it. People say, well, how do you do it all, Jamie? I'm like, well, I don't do it all. I
Right.
say no a
Yeah.
lot, you know what I mean? And so I have a rule, like if I'm going to add something big to my plate, something exciting in business or something exciting in some of the charitable stuff I do, if I'm going to add something new to my plate, I got to be willing to take something off. Because like you
Mhm.
said, we have a tendency to get busy. And I love being busy and fulfilled and contributing and growing. But there's another type of busy where it's just you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to please everybody, and you have anxiety and overwhelm. And I have a
Mhm.
course called it's basically overcome the overwhelm, streamline your life in 7 days, and it's to streamline, to take the distractions out of your life, be able to put the most important things in every area of your life, from finance to marriage to family to kids, so that you are not trying to do things, first of all, that can be delegated or that are not important. But I think that's a big one, because if you don't learn how to say no, I have scripts for moms, like email scripts, like, because sometimes it's hard to just say, no to.
Yeah, it is hard for some people.
Yeah,
Totally.
like I remember one time they asked me to be like the PTA president at this private school that my daughter was at. And of course I'm scripted now. So I say, oh my goodness, I'm so flattered. Let me get back to you. Let me talk to my spouse, right? Then I shoot out that email that says, I talked to my husband. He feels I have too much on my plate right now, which is always true. So yeah, that's not a lie. And so then I said, but thank you for thinking of me. I'm sure there's wonderful women or men that can fill that role right now. But keep me in mind for a lot of the events this year and volunteer roles, because I would love to be on campus more helping out. You know what I mean? So that was just a role at that time in my life that, like you said, that season, I probably would have driven myself crazy with too much going on.
Yeah.
So, but it's hard sometimes for women to just decline those types of offers.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always like to tell clients, even if you're excited by the request or the invitation, don't say yes on the spot.
Right.
Try it on first.
Yes.
Try it on first. Imagine what life's going to look like if this is part of your world,
Yes. Love that.
So I love that script that you gave, because you didn't say yes on the spot, even though maybe you were really flattered and maybe it was really exciting for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious, how has running a business with your husband
Mm.
affected your marriage?
Yeah, people ask me all the time, like, how can you have a business with your spouse? And I'm like, well, how can you not? Right. So I think, a lot of people, they have their spouse, they get up every morning, get the kids ready for school, and they go off to two different worlds. And
Yes.
they're in these worlds. Sometimes it's a job they love, sometimes it's a job that they hate. Then they come home and they have to get all their chores done and make dinner and all this stuff. And then they have very little time at the end of the day for communication. And it's easy to, get caught up in everything that's going on in your life and all the to-dos, like I said. So for me, I actually love that we work together. And I know some people think it's hard to do that because it's hard to determine your roles. I have a retreat at the end of this month where people are coming out, where it's a 2-day retreat for couples in business together, because that's a big question I get. Well, how do you determine roles? I say be very careful with that, because then it's like, I did my job, you didn't do your job. We're not a 50-50 partnership. And man, I gave up a long time ago with it being 50-50, right? It's sometimes I will get 10 things done to Sean's one thing, and that's okay, because what he contributes to our marriage and into our business is just so many gifts that I'm not good at. You know what I'm saying? So when he's up, sometimes I'm down and he's the one that's carrying the load, because we're both going towards our common vision. So instead of he does this, I do that. This is his category. This is mine. That's okay when you're kind of thinking logistically and planning. But instead, we do it different. We're a team. We're a team in life. We're a team in raising our kids. We're a team in our, the life that we want to build for even for our posterity, our great grandkids, And so it's this vision. And so some days, he's in the kids' school doing stuff, or he's coaching the little league thingy. And some days he's cooking, and sometimes I'm cooking. And so it's just, for us, what it's done is made us really excellent communicators, where we are at least once a week with the kids, opening our calendars, like, okay, what do we got? What do you got? What do you got? And, sometimes we can't do all those things. Sometimes we can't make it to that kids game. And other times, one child might be like, Mom, this presentation I'm giving at school is really important. And I don't just want you there. I want the whole family there. Okay, guys, can we do that? Can we do that this, time for Brody? And so it's a lot of communication. But again, the whole family is on the same page with, what's so important. I think that so many times, so many moms let their kids' schedule dictate their lives, and they have their kids in all these different things. And, we have 4 kids, so they're each do one thing at a time. I can't have so many things, but if it conflicts with our family's values or our family's vision, we just we don't do it. Right. But that communication, Sean and I are communicating again as a family once a week, but almost, daily as a husband and wife team. We also have partnership meetings. And a lot of times it's Sunday night once the kids go to bed, and we'll have a partnership meeting. We're partners again in business and in life. So we'll have these topics. Could be home, like everything going good in the home, everything going good with the finances, right? It could be the children. Hey, anything up with any of the kids? Anything I need to pay attention to? You need to pay attention to? Yeah, so-and-so was kind of moody. What's going on with that? Right? So we'll have these conversations. So it's helped our communication. And then we keep each other dreaming bigger. If I kind of get on a kick health-wise, you're like, yeah, I need to step up my game too. And so we are there to support each other when we're down. So is it always easy? No. Have we disagreed on things? Yeah. But I mean, I think that's no matter what, you're going to have, partnerships where maybe you disagree or whatever, but we are each other's biggest fan. We're each other's, we bounce ideas off each other first. But again, we're kind of stay out of the small thinking, and we're constantly chasing the dream or chasing the vision. And then we, of course we have to get the stuff done each day. And so I don't know, we both kind of know what we're good at, and whatever we're not good at or we don't like, we try to delegate if we can, now that we have money. Of course, when we didn't have money, we had to do all of it. But once we started making money, then, hire a bookkeeper, or, just the stuff that we don't want to do.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing that. When you were saying, are there moments where we disagree? Of course, it made me think of recently I was chatting with someone about, he was watching like 2 business partners discussing the business, at a conference or something. And somebody asked the question, like, do you always agree as business partners? And one of the partners said, well, no, if we always agreed, what would we need a partner for?
Yeah.
And I thought that made perfect sense. Like, you do want someone to challenge your opinion and make you think differently sometimes in business, whether that's an actual marriage and partnership in your personal growth, or in your business and your professional growth. So yeah, your partner isn't there to just yes you to death with everything, right? You need to kind of have opposing opinions sometimes in order for innovation to happen and growth and success.
Yeah, I love it. Actually, I'm a guest speaker next week in Vegas, and they've asked me to train or teach on this topic of how do you get your spouse involved in your business and work together. And this company wants more of that in their company because it is beneficial, I think, because if 2 people with a common vision are working together, it breeds so much more power than even 10 people, 10 employees. You see what I'm saying? So 2 people with a common vision, excited, encouraging one another. I think the spouse can make or break you in business. They could be your biggest advocate, cheerleader, but they could also be the most resentful and discouraging and take you out of the game too.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Absolutely. All right, Jaime. Well, this has been such a good conversation. I kind of don't want it to end, but I'm going to move into our lightning round now, where I'm going to ask you just some fun, random questions, just so our listeners can get to know you a bit more personally. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. Tell us, Jaime, what book are you reading right now?
Oh my goodness, I have a few. I'm reading a couple different books right now. I'm reading a parenting book. There's some of my favorites. Where is it? The Happy Family by Linda and Richard Eyre. I'm reading that one again because, again, I'm doing some stuff. I'm doing a retreat for couples at my house. Jay Shetty's book, his newer book, The Love One. I'm reading that one right now. And then The Power of One by Ed Milet, because I'm coaching some of his people on some stuff on that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Those sound like awesome reads. Let's see. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be? Calories don't count.
Probably chocolate chip cookies. Chocolate chip cookies are
not a bad
my
choice.
Comfort food. I love it.
Yes.
My little 15-year-old son, he's a really good baker, and he will make me chocolate chip cookies. I don't know. That's probably my go-to.
That's awesome. I love that. What if they made a movie about your life? Who would you want to play you?
I don't know. Maybe Ashley Judd, just because people always told me when I was younger that I look like her. I don't know. So.
Yeah, that's a great choice. Absolutely. What's one app you can't live without?
Oh gosh, what is it called? It's a group text app, group communication app. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Send Hype. Because in my different businesses, I have one business, I have a lot of agents. Then I also have groups of like smaller leadership groups. Then I have groups of like family groups. And so I love being able to, I send a lot of messages, a lot of phone calls too. I mean, I'm just really big on communication. I'm a heavy communicator. I kind of have this mindset in business where, almost like if you think of a farmer with irrigation system, like you have to be able to get the same message to the very last plant in the very last row. You know what I'm saying? So I need communication tools. And I think that I couldn't live without that one. Being able to get 1,000 messages out in seconds.
Yeah. Sounds really, really helpful, especially in the juggle of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Yep. All right. Finally, what is something most people don't know about you?
I don't know. I had a nickname when I was little called Peanut, and then when I became a young adult, my nickname was Inga. They called me Inga. I don't know. I worked at a gym, and I was in very good shape, and I worked out every day just to get the stress out of working in that place. And I was a little buffer back then. I don't know.
Awesome. Okay, so now we know all your multiple ways you respond to. Yeah. Great, Jaime. Well, let our listeners know where they can find you before we wrap up.
Yes. Well, happyandstrong.com is a good place to kind of just see some of the different instructions. There's some cool, for the female entrepreneurs, there's some free classes on there that some of my mentors like Ed Milet are coaching of how to build a business, but have balance and happiness. So that would be a great place, happyandstrong.com. Oh, of course, Instagram is at Jaime.Villalovos, and I'm constantly giving tips for entrepreneurs and women in business there too.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jaime, for taking the time to be on the show, for sharing all your wisdom, your insight, your story. We so appreciate it.
Awesome. Nice to spend some time with you guys.
You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.